morning, everybody. This is Eureka John, and you have found Eureka Street Crypto Hub. This is my video blog, and I'm broadcasting live on Theta Network every single morning at Leander, Texas is where I'm broadcasting from. And it is 7:14 in the morning on a Sunday, June 6th, 2021. I do this every single morning without skipping a beat. So I don't always know what time I'm coming on in the morning. Sometimes I got to go do my commute down to work, and it's an hour-long commute. And so I'm doing this at around 5:15 or 5:30 in the morning. Other mornings like this, I'm not driving to work, or it's a Sunday or a Saturday, and I do it around 7-ish, 7:15, like right now. So yeah, but yeah, either way, I put it up on YouTube, Odyssey, BitChute, and BitTube, and I'm on Twitter and Float app. So this is, like I said, just a video blog, and I'm expressing my opinions and things that I learn. They may be wrong or right, or they may be right for the time being, and then I learn something else, and then I'm wrong. That's just how it goes. So don't take any of this for any type of education or advice. So maybe education on what you can learn from my mistakes and things that I happen to pick up as well. But aside from that, yeah, don't take it too seriously. Don't get all your panties in a wad if I say something that, kind of ticks you off. Just, I'm learning here as I go along too. All right, so let's go over to the old CoinGecko. I had it on the crypto playground. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's see here. Oh yeah, and I'm not sponsored or shilling anything, so I don't get money for this. This is all out of my own time and energy, and I guess a little bit of money. Yeah, so yeah. And I'm not even asking for tips or any either, because then that makes me kind of like beholden to my audience, and I don't want to do that. So. This is, like I said, this is my way of learning and my way of being able to articulate and express the things that I've learned. And it's easier to think about what I've learned and for it coming in, but then when I actually try to talk about it, it just comes out like mush. And I'm just like, am I really saying these things? This is not what I'm thinking in my head. I understand this concept in my head. Why can't I talk about it? And so this is my way of trying to just get it out there and articulate it and verbalize what I'm thinking about and what I'm learning, and seeing how well I do. So, that being said, let's go to the CoinGecko here. Let's see what's going on. Bitcoin's still been sitting around, mid to high 30,000s. It's interesting, it's been going sideways, even though they just had that huge Bitcoin conference in Miami. I gotta say, I wish I were there. I'm not going to be one of those guys like, just be all grumbling about it, or jealous because being angry at the people there because I'm jealous because I couldn't be there. I mean, I'd totally be there, man. Looks like it would be fun, but I'm just a plebe, and I got to take care of my family, and I have a life and a job here, so I can't just pick up and go pay $900 and and then plus hotel fees and everything else to go hang out in Miami for a week. Yeah, I ain't that well off. So, all right. So Bitcoin's at 36,000. Ethereum's at 2,712.32, hovering below 3,000. I think Ethereum's going to be doing some crazy things in the near future. I am pretty bullish on Ethereum, especially after having studied deeply Arbitrum for the past week, I guess. I've been really trying to dig in and figure that out, and now that I've got a better grasp on Arbitrum, I'm really a lot more bullish on Ethereum and Chainlink, for that matter. I've spent the past few episodes going through some pretty highly technical stuff, layer 2 solutions, how to set up other blockchains in your MetaMask, about sharding and roll-ups and stuff like that. And so I'm just going to kind of make it today kind of like a Sunday devotional, let's talk about some macro issues and things like that, you can't always be all technical all the time. And then sometimes I go completely Alex Jones on you, and I, talk about the Great Reset and the surveillance society and all that type of stuff as well. So I'm not going to try not to do that either. So yeah, it's going to kind of keep it low key, right? Okay, so Cardano, Binance Coin's at 390.44, just below 400. Cardano's at $1.68. The Doge at 37 cents. XRP below $1 at 93 cents. Polkadot 24.16. USDC is a stable coin, just $1. Hey, wow, surprise. Uniswap 25.87. The ICP Clown coin is at 107.14. Bitcoin Cash 660.07. Chainlink 27.69. It's been fluctuating around between 25 and 35. Litecoin $177.22. Solana $40.91. Polygon Matic $1.56. Now people will say Polygon and Matic as kind of the same thing. People will say Polygon, people will say Matic. They mean the same thing. They are interchangeable because Matic used to just be Matic, and then for some reason they decided to rebrand it Polygon, but they kept the ticker as Matic. So just so you know. Binance USD, stablecoin dollar. Theta Network down to 888. Okay, all right, and I won't go any further than that today. I did want to check out Aave 363.53. Got Kusama at 402.11, Cosmos 1481, Celsius down to 776. Actually, Celsius has been doing pretty well lately. Let's see, anything else of my particular interest down here? Zilliqa 12 cents. I'd love to see Zilliqa get back up to 25 cents like it was a while back. Let's see. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers, the stuff that I'm interested in right now. Bancor 449. Ooh, man, I took a hit. Ooh, I don't know what happened there. All right, anyway, whatever. So, let's go to some content. It looks, part of this Bitcoin conference, they had an announcement that Nayib Bukele, president of El Salvador, is saying Bitcoin is now legal tender in El Salvador. This will increase jobs in the country. Well, not quite yet. He's put a bill towards Congress, and then but he kind of runs most of the El Salvador Congress, so the bill's pretty much gonna be passed, and they will have Bitcoin on the books, so it will be legal tender. This is the man. How old is this dude? He's got to be younger than me. Like, what have I done with my life? When I see stuff like this, then my wife is like, John, yeah, you've done a lot with your life. You don't have to sit there and compare yourself to other people. Anyway, but I guess I could be the president of a country like El Salvador. Like, El Salvador is the country with the highest kill and criminal rates in the world. Congrats, Bitcoin. The only country you didn't want to join just joined. What a pompous butt face. Like, this is a country that could really use Bitcoin, as a digital currency. Their cash is worthless. They're having to use the dollar in a lot of cases to back up and guard against inflation. Now the dollar's inflating, so what are they left with? And this is creating a big problem. Okay, let's go down here. They're just kind of just a bunch of snarky comments, and then others, brilliant. This is just the beginning. As the worldwide acceptance grows, so will the utility. Okay, so, and then people saying, well, he's corrupt, and yeah. Okay, whatever. All right. So, all the Twitter snark going on here. Let's go over here to an article. No, not that one. Here it is. Okay. CoinDesk. They're always quick on the draw with articles. Okay, so let's take a look at this article by CoinDesk covering El Salvador. If I can get it to respond. Come on now. Okay, President of El Salvador says he's submitting bill to make Bitcoin legal tender. An emotional Jack Mallers announced the news at Bitcoin 2021. Okay, so I don't know who Jack Mallers is. He's apparently the CEO of Zap. I don't know, or he works for Zap. I don't know what Zap is. Is that Zapper? Like kind of the Xerion app that keeps track of all your wallets? Probably. El Salvador is developing a bill to recognize Bitcoin as a legal tender, according to President Nayib Bukele. In a videotaped announcement shown Saturday, he said he will submit the bill next week. Jack Mallers announced the news at Bitcoin 2021 conference. He said his company is working with Bukele to implement a plan. Okay, interesting. I'll have to look a little further into Zap. I think that's Zapper, but I don't want to. Yeah. Anyway, I guess I could look that up real quick. Jack Mallers. Let's see. Notice I'm using pre-search instead of Google. Okay. Forbes, Zap Solutions. Okay. See, a Bitcoin investment and payments company that transacts over the Lightning Network. Interesting. Okay, so the Lightning Network is actually proposing to have some real use in the space. I did cover what Lightning Network is several episodes back. It's kind of just a way to create fast and scalable microtransactions through payment channels on the Bitcoin network, since the Bitcoin network is slow. And this is a kind of a fast way to do it. It's peer-to-peer. They open payment channels and they can do really fast transactions until the payment channel is closed. And I assume, like, you know, all right. So anyway, so yeah, that's Zap. Okay, interesting. Okay, so I did not know that. I learned something new every single day. All right, so the bill must be still reviewed by the country's legislative assembly, but with the populist Bukele's upstart political party in firm control of the body, approval seemed all but assured Saturday. The bill's approval would likely make El Salvador the first nation to adopt a Bitcoin standard. Its full text was not immediately available. As of now, El Salvador is set to be the first Bitcoin country, Mallard said, and the first country to make Bitcoin legal tender and treat it as a world currency and have Bitcoin on their reserves. Interesting, but it's not yet clear what being the first Bitcoin country will mean for the fiscally unstable and oppressively poor Central American nation where 70% of residents lack a banking account. Well, it's going to kind of bank a bunch of unbanked people. It's going to provide a fungible currency in place of that worthless El Salvador cash that they have. And then now that the dollar's inflating, they don't really have a place to run and hide and put any of their assets. So now they can put them in Bitcoin. They've probably been doing that all along for a while anyway. And he's just kind of just being like, okay, it's not yet clear what being, okay, so I already read that. The 39-year-old, I am older than him by 6 years, claimed in recorded comments that his plan will have short-term benefits for thousands of unbanked individuals. He claimed it will generate jobs. And in the medium and long term, we hope that this decision can help us push humanity at least a tiny bit into the right direction. I agree with you there. Mallers framed Bukele's announcement as pushing back against unprecedented monetary expansion. Exactly. He placed particular blame on the U.S. Federal Reserve for crushing emerging markets such as El Salvador's dollarized economy by printing greenbacks ad nauseum. A brief excerpt of what appeared to be Bukele's bill harped on a similar theme. Central banks are increasingly taking actions that may cause harm to the economic stability of El Salvador. The excerpt continued, in order to mitigate the negative impact from central banks, it becomes necessary to authorize the circulation of a digital currency with a supply that cannot be controlled by any central bank and is only altered in accord with objective and calculable criteria. Bitcoin, the decentralized, hard-cap, stateless, decade-old digital currency, would appear to fit that criteria. I agree. I've been to the El Salvador airport, but I've been all through Honduras and through the jungle, and I've been through Belize and lower Mexico and Guatemala and up through northern Costa Rica as well. Never quite made it through Nicaragua and El Salvador, but I can imagine, some of the places that I went around San Pedro Sula and Tegucigalpa, Honduras, I can imagine it's very similar. And in some places I went to in Guatemala, and I can picture in my head how Bitcoin will be used and possibly other cryptocurrencies. El Salvador's plan sits in stark contrast to a competing vision of money gaining traction among central banks. About 80% are studying central bank digital currencies in a global push to make fiat more compatible with a digital economy. None, however, have seriously considered implementing that through a cryptocurrency beyond their control. Now, I think CBDCs are terrible. I think it's a way to bring in the programmable Fed coin that is going to, in a way, enslave people. They'll bring it out as helicopter airdrops, and they will probably have to make people register with IDs in order to get it. It's why I don't like this whole ICP clown coin, the ICP internet, because they'll make people have to register in order to use it, and then that opens up an entire can of worms. Fungibility in a way is there, but you have to have some kind of ID in order to use it, and I'm not crazy about it, because that opens the door to a surveillance society where if they were using Bitcoin or some other decentralized cryptocurrency like that, then the anonymity is still there. People say, well, what about, money laundering and, terrorist activities? They do that with the dollar already as it is, and with a lot of these people, living in small towns and shanty towns and places like El Salvador, they're not going to go down to the central office and get their ID and all this stuff, but they have cell phones, and smartphones, and they can use that. And, so I think I think Bitcoin is a good solution. A lot of those people don't trust the central government, and for good reason. And so they're not going to go down and get signed up with some kind of ID and then have a CBDC track and trace every single thing that they do, unless the CBDC promises to remain completely impartial and confidential, and not require some kind of ID or anything like that. But then once it's on your phone, then it can be tracked and traced to your wallet. And I don't know, there's just a lot of problems with CBDC that Bitcoin and some of these other more decentralized cryptocurrencies. Well, people say, well, what about chainalysis? Bitcoin can be tracked and traced. Yes, that's true. However, with this new Taproot upgrade, they're bringing in kind of ring signature type of functionality, Schnorr signatures that will increase anonymity and stuff like that. So Bitcoin, I think, is becoming more and more, upgraded to current usage and current technology to be able to combat against that type of chainalysis. Interesting stuff there. Hey, how you doing, 29LH06? Good morning. Bitcoin in El Salvador seems to me like a great idea. CBDCs, not so much. Anyway, so Maller's Strike, a payments app built on Bitcoin's Lightning Network. So that's how they would do the quick transactions, because I see that a lot. Oh, I don't want to get a cup of coffee with Bitcoin because by the time it's settled, my coffee will be cold. Not with Lightning Network. And then, there are other cryptocurrencies that are more transaction based as well that could be used. So anyway, it's been on the ground in El Salvador, like for instance, Nimic is one that could be used. Even Bitcoin Cash, so I don't know. Okay, has been on the ground in El Salvador this year, with Mallers claiming to onboard 20,000 Salvadorans a day during the app's peak activity in the country. In an emotional speech, Mallers made it clear that Zap's mission is to serve those in economies he believes are most affected by central bank monetary inflation. We want to make cross-border payments free, and I absolutely am 100% on board with that. In my old house, I lived in a neighborhood where there were tons of people that would have to use that little red telephone and a convenience store to send money back to Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Philippines, etc. And they would sit on that phone, and they'd be basically have to pay 50% of what they wanted to send. They would have to pay $25 to send $50 over to El Salvador or wherever, and it's just robbery. So that being said, there's an article over here by Mike Filbert, and he wrote an article about this particular exact situation, and I'm going to read. It's not too long. I'll read parts of it here. He is the guy that is building this website, the Crypto Playground, and it creates a virtual simulated crypto learning experience where you basically have a simulated wallet. They will try to do scams on you and stuff like that, like practice scams, in order to show you how to recognize them. It sounds pretty cool, everything that they're trying to do, and you can buy and trade and track all types of currencies on here. And it seems to be a really cool simulated crypto learning experience. So check that out. I'm not sponsored by them. I just think it's a cool project, and I've been speaking with these guys online, and I just I like what they're doing. Anyway, he wrote this really good article that talks about exactly what I've been talking about. Our world's changing rapidly with the technological advancements we're creating, and yet we are still lagging behind in bridging the financial inequality gap. 1.7 million global citizens remained unbanked, and this source is World Bank. That's just like El Salvador, all the unbanked people there, all the unbanked people in Africa, like I said, I've been all through Honduras and Guatemala, and even in Costa Rica that everybody says is totally commercialized. If you go outside of Playa Tamarindo and Jaco and all those places, you'll see some shanty towns. So anyway, daily I walk past people who are homeless. Some sleep rough in the cold or heat. Others have bared essentials to survive and are plunged into a level of poverty that just grows deeper. The older a person gets, the more difficult it is to extricate themselves from their situation. The unbanked have similar characteristics. Globally, they are low income, less educated, tend to live in rural areas. In many nations, they belong to an ethnic or religious minority and are overwhelmingly women. I did not think about this. What does it mean for someone without a bank account? Individuals who don't have a bank account use informal means to save, borrow, and manage their cash. You may know someone who puts their savings in a box, can, or jar and hides it under their mattress, floorboards, or even in the backyard. I've been guilty of that. It's risky, and savings can be lost, stolen, or spent. I mean, there is a show that is on YouTuber. He's a YouTube show, and his specialty is finding treasure. And people will hire him. And some lady, I covered this guy in an article. Some lady in Maryland hired this guy to find. I believe it was like $400,000 or something like that of 1956 dollars. In the wall or floorboards of an old house in Maryland. It ended up equating to something like $50,000 nowadays. But it's an interesting article. But you can find cases like that all the time. The cycle of poverty multiplies when pawnbrokers or others who charge exorbitant interest rates are used to repay debts and arise from illness, death in the family, or other emergencies. As individuals struggle to repay the loan, it accrues interest at an alarming rate, plunging them into a deeper level of poverty. And I see this from my old neighborhood in that convenience store and that red telephone on the wall I was talking about, where people would have to pay $25 to send $50 to El Salvador or Mexico or wherever, and then you see these, no credit, no problem loans places, and they charge 180% interest and stuff like that on taking out a loan. I used to have terrible credit. I got into some trouble, and I ended up having to pay court costs and stuff like that. And then I just had financial issues. The business I was working for was not doing well, and I didn't know if I was getting a paycheck, and it was just getting deeper and deeper. And then I was like, I got to get some credit. So I went to one of those credit places and I took out a predatory loan, but I made sure that they reported it to my credit, and I just struggled and I worked hard and I paid off that predatory loan. And then I had to get another less predatory loan in order to keep that credit going. And finally I had enough credit on my system to where I managed to scrape my way out of that credit pit and build up some credit. But it took forever, and it took a lot of money, basically being robbed from my labor, in order to dig my way out of that credit hole that I was in. And it's terrible. How much money did I spend and get robbed from me by these predatory loan places in order to just build a minimum amount of credit? This system just absolutely needs to be done away with. And then not accounting that, all the NSF fees that banks will charge you. $45 billion from Bank of America alone in NSF fees to the people who should not be paying it. Anyway, the cycle of poverty multiplies when pawnbrokers or others who charge exorbitant interest rates are used to repay debts that arise from illness, death in the family, or other emergencies as individuals struggle to repay the loan. It accrues interest at an alarming rate, plunging them into a deeper level of poverty. Absolutely true. Though many of us take banking for granted, there are many people who are limited to these mainstream banking services. The individual without a bank account has a poor credit rating and therefore doesn't have access to loans, credit card, mortgages, insurance, savings, or checkings account, and can't access a simple thing like an ATM machine. Check cashing services are seen as an alternative for many, as prepaid cards that come with hefty fees. Economically, not having a bank account undermines the quality of life of a person and prevents them from investing in their future. That's absolutely true, and it can happen to anybody, man. I just got a DWI, and that's what set that off from me. I had to pay a bunch of fines and all this stuff, and then I got wrapped up in this probation system. Then I had to like pay for counseling by the state, and it's just like it just adds up and adds up and adds up and adds up to the point where I don't know, man. Yeah, it's just like one little trip up in your life. Or, that's for me. These people didn't even have to make a trip up because they, were coming over here looking for opportunity, and what do they find? Just predatory loan services, and that's it, in order to gain credit. So why don't people use banks? A lack of money, proper ID, bank costs, or travel distance, as well as cultural and familial factors that are some of the reasons people remain unbanked. One, microfinancing was a way to access credit, but as banks have started to participate in these schemes, loans have increased and become a major pain point for users. Distrust of banks leads people to engage in consideration of alternative options, and the 2020 Edelman Trust Barometer states that distrust is being driven by a growing sense of inequity and unfairness in the system. It's absolutely true, and I talk about these people in the El Salvador shanty towns, and then the fact that Bitcoin is good, CBDCs are bad, because in order to use a CBDC, it gets tied into an identity. It's a Fed coin, it's programmed, it's smart money. No matter the intention of the state saying, oh yeah, we'll make it completely anonymous and 100% fungible and everything, that's freaking bull crap. They're not going to do that. So you need something like Bitcoin that's completely decentralized and impartial. So two attributes are showing to trust delivering on a promise and ethical behavior. The financial crisis of 2008 engendered distrust as incompetence and unethical behavior drove high unemployment, near bank collapses, and economic contraction, symptoms of recession which were felt globally. Massive bailouts were undertaken to prevent the collapse of the financial system. Who received from those bailouts? Banks, auto companies, stuff like that, the people that didn't need it. The use of smartphones has created a solution for mobile payments for the unbanked, and intense competition between telecommunication companies is helping drive the costs of making calls and internet access more affordable. The World Bank reported that 1 billion people who lack a bank account have a mobile phone, and nearly 480 million have internet access. That's pretty incredible. So yes, when you see a poor guy, a homeless guy on the street, like, wow, they got a smartphone. How do they have that? They're probably just spending it on beer, and stuff like that. Just, smartphones are not hard to get, and especially burner phones and things like that. There's a rapid uptake of mobile phones globally with costs as little as $20. However, there are barriers to adoption such as poor internet connectivity, technical competency to navigate smartphones, as well as social norms in some countries. In some cultures, there is a gender gap in mobile device ownership due to association of women phone ownership with an enabling promiscuity, enforcement of gender roles with expectations that women stay at home or be accompanied when traveling. And concerns about the degree of a woman's independence. That's interesting fact about women not being able to have cell phones in other societies. I did not think about that because they take for granted a lot of the freedoms that we have in the United States and a lot of the equality we do have between genders in the United States compared to other countries. It's interesting. The rise of the mobile phone has contributed to the flexibility to undertake financial transactions anytime and anywhere while creating a pathway for inclusion in the financial system. We're experiencing a paradigm shift where we're transitioning from taking cash as a payment for undertaking work to digitized methods such as direct deposits and automated clearing ACH transfers. Many people are seeking digital payment options, and mobile banking technology and apps are gaining popularity. There's a lot of jobs and places that will employ you that only do direct deposit, or they really heavily try to push you towards that. You do have to have an ID to workplaces unless you want to go stand outside at Home Depot and work under the table. And that's an option. But if it comes down to some kind of CBDC and and everybody has to be on some kind of surveillance and credit system, then those people aren't even allowed to stand in front of Home Depot and make the cash that they've been making. So there's a problem there with the CBDC. That's why this Bitcoin thing is good. It still allows people to do things like stand in front of the Home Depot and make a living because they might not want to be a part of the economic system in that way, or they can't get an ID because they might have gotten into some legal trouble, like a DWI, and then with a DWI, you have to get like a special license in order to be able to have an ID, but then you have to go and fill out these forms, and then with COVID being shut down, a lot of times for a while, almost an entire year, you couldn't even go down to the office, and then nowadays you have to schedule an appointment online in a lot of cases to go make any adjustments to your driver's license, and all that is a hassle. And when you're trying to still work from 7 to 7 every single Monday to Friday, or Monday to Saturday, and sometimes even Sunday too, every single day of the week, with a lot of these people that have to work that much in order to just make the bare minimum, there's no time to do all that stuff. So they're caught in this cycle of poverty, and it sucks. But if they could take it, if everything is indeed going to digital cash, and then Bitcoin is a good option to be able to be used as anonymous cash, so they don't have to go jump in and become entangled in this web that is being set up as a credit system, as a banking system, and everything else. A lot of times people don't even have any issues with the banks. They wish they could be part of it, but they just can't. So when working with to advance financial institution, we cannot divorce new technologies from the norms that influence them. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies will play a larger role in financial inclusion, as the distributed networks that enable these technologies are always online, accessible, and can bypass state control. Anyone can create a Bitcoin wallet, transfer money globally via the internet, and use crypto debit credit cards with lower merchant fees. Countries such as Mexico, Argentina, Venezuela, Chile, and Brazil use digital currencies to manage their economic crisis that cause high inflation and devaluation of their local currency. I think this is great. So they're already using it, and El Salvador probably too. Many companies within these countries are turning to it as a payment system, others as an investment. Now what I see is countries like Mexico, Argentina, Venezuela, Chile, Brazil, El Salvador, and like the rest of the world, Philippines, all these countries are going to be starting to use, as the dollar's getting faded out, starting to use Bitcoin. And so the rest of the world is going to be using Bitcoin. And here we are as the United States still clinging to our precious, and then some of these European countries as well clinging to their euro dollar, and then the rest of the world's moved on. They've moved on without us, and they've advanced, and then suddenly we're going to have to just scramble around because we're so bent on creating a surveillance society that everybody's going to bypass us. So decentralized finance services are growing globally to compete with traditional banking models in lending, trading, and other financial services. DeFi platforms offer access to various digital tokens, smart contracts, and provides transparency as an alternative to banking environments. Absolutely true. You don't need an ID to do DeFi. You don't have to be an accredited investor. A lot of times it takes $250,000 to become an accredited investor. That's insane. I don't have $250,000 laying around to become an accredited investor. So. This bypasses all that. Like I was able to get a really low payment on my car payment when I financed my car because I was able to use DeFi to borrow against some crypto that I had, and it lowered my payment. And therefore, I was able to call the shots against the credit system, not them. So, according to Wang Cheng of Business Insider, fintech expert Anton Zatkovsky, who co-founded MicroMoney, a money lending app targeting Southeast Asian countries like Myanmar, Thailand, and the Philippines, is helping people create a credit history on the blockchain. Additionally, he states that Mark Yusko, the CEO and CIO of investment advisory company Morgan Creek Capital Management, believes the blockchain network is fundamental and its fundamental growth can be leveraged to alleviate inequality if done right. As the world evolves, cryptocurrencies will be part of that evolution, irrespective of the fear-mongering and high-profile individuals, organizations stating it won't happen or last. And that's absolutely true. I believe in cryptocurrency as a whole, not as a speculative opportunity. I believe this is where technology is going. And, with every light, there's always dark. There's two forces fighting back and forth with each other. And I think that's kind of, in a way, CBDC versus decentralized Bitcoin and Bitcoin-like cryptocurrencies. They're butting heads, and who's going to win? Who are you going to support? So This is interesting. It's getting interesting, folks. More opportunities exist through new business models to redistribute wealth and acquire assets, and cryptocurrencies through electronic transfer can reach more users than ever. Financial services are essential for coping with and escaping poverty. This is why 7 out of the 17 Sustainability Development Goals in the United Nations are focused on this factor. Not sure how much I trust the United Nations, but these are some really good sustainable goals. So being unbanked is not the major issue. Not having enough money is the greater problem. Cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology may have a role in helping manage this new paradigm. So good article, Mike Filbert. I didn't follow you. Let me follow you. Okay. So that's that. And then just one little thing I wanted to touch on before I go. Let's see here. There's an article that just basically covers, let me go into my bookmarks. Yeah, I'm preaching at you. It's Sunday. Come to church. Come to crypto church. I did go to seminary, so De-dollarization. Russia removing all U.S. dollar assets from its $600 billion. I got cut off. Hold on. $600 billion national wealth fund. So I'm telling you, it's happening. People are moving away from the dollar. Russia steps up de-dollarization efforts. Russia's finance minister Anton Siluanov announced that at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum on Thursday that dollar assets will be removed from the National Wealth Fund altogether as Washington continues to impose sanctions on Moscow. It is a race towards a global currency. Is it going to be decentralized CBDC and the Fed coin and all that, or is it going to be something like Bitcoin that can provide opportunity and democratic principles to the rest of the world? It's going to be interesting. Russian President Vladimir Putin has made de-dollarization in his country's key policy in an effort to reduce Russian economy's exposure to dollar assets. The multi-year drive to reduce Russia's vulnerability to U.S. sanctions comes amid deteriorating relations with Washington. I'm telling you, man, the dollar stinks. The dollar farted in the World Bank, and everybody's steering clear. So, I don't know. All right. Oh, man. Yep. So, like I said, I've been kind of talking technical for the past few episodes. So, this morning, it's Sunday morning, had to take you to church, right? All right. So, I will talk at you tomorrow. And, I wanted to talk a little bit about Augur and Chainlink and stuff like that. So I'll probably end up being tired and early and talking about something kind of technical and boring. So, all right. Well, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.